and welcome to this special edition of the Boob Tube Buddies podcast, the second episode of our marathon podcasting session of Netflix's Luke Cage, entitled Code of the Streets. To get in on the conversation, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Reddit. Just search Boob Tube Buddies. We're going to be live tweeting this marathon throughout the entire day, so make sure you're checking us out on Twitter. You can also email us at boobtubebuddies@gmail.com. Actually, we did just get a submission a few minutes ago, so we're going to go ahead and start the episode off here in a few minutes with it. But first, please rate us on iTunes. It's the number one way you can support our show. Really helps out, and we certainly appreciate it. I'm Adam Foxman, and our other coast here, Mathis Coos. What's going on, Mothman?
Nice, I'm a coast now. Mothman here. How's everyone doing? This has been a pretty eventful hour and a half since the last one. Because not only have we watched the show, we ordered pizza. And I will say, like, for both of us that never really did the whole, like, you never really did the college experience, right?
No, not really. I mean, I never lived on campus.
Yeah, this kind of feels like the dorm room experience. Like,
yeah,
we're just relaxing, watching Netflix.
Two guys just sitting around in their boxers, recording podcasts all day, eating pizza, watching TV.
Actually, if we were live streaming the video, we'd be doing a very similar to the What's the Fuss podcast. We have our shirts off and we're just slamming beers.
Just a few less tattoos than them. Although you got a few yourself, don't you?
I have one. And then it hurt real bad, so I never got any more. Throwback to our last episode, Alan Moore and Watchmen. It's a Watchmen tattoo.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I do love that tattoo. It's a good one.
Anyway.
So, real quick. So, at Brent McCluskey, which is at BrentMCCluskey, he tweeted us and asked just a very basic question. So, I'm going to throw it to you, Mothman. Who's your all-time favorite fictional character? And we'll keep it within the realm of comic books for the sake of this conversation.
Well, for anyone that was in this room, I think you'd probably guess it's Hellboy.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking around, there's Hellboy stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate Hellboy fanboy.
Yes, exactly. Hellboy fanboy. Love me some Hellboy. If we were to kind of concentrate it to simply Marvel, which is where Luke Cage is from, hard time picking a favorite, but like the X-Men as a team were always my favorite growing up, with Wolverine specifically. But outside of a team, actually I've always liked Daredevil.
Gotcha. Okay. I always liked Batman as a kid growing up. That was
DC. Like, I'm actually not a DC fan.
Yeah.
Yet Batman is my favorite like mainstream comic character.
Yes.
For sure.
Okay. Same with mine. If we're just staying within the Marvel universe, just because of growing up with the video games, Saturday morning cartoon shows. Always loved Wolverine.
Yeah.
I called everybody Bub for like 3 years, from like ages 7 to 10.
How you doing, Bub? Shit.
All right, Bub, you ready to kick off this podcast?
I am. I guess I just answered.
And thank you to at Brent McCluskey for writing in. Appreciate it. That's the first real submission of our live tweeting session here. So yeah, thank you very much for getting involved in the conversation.
And if you want to talk about serendipity for a minute, and I don't mean the John Cusack movie, it happens to be podcast day. Which we just found out
3 hours into our podcast.
I'm like live tweeting, and then we did the Potter family tweet for fellow podcasters where we retweet each other in an effort to make other small podcasts successful.
Yeah.
And I noticed there's a few that said podcast day. I was like, oh shit. It's also Luke Cage Day and our live marathon.
Oh, hey, we've thrown up 30 tweets that didn't include that already.
Yes.
Damn it.
But hey, we're only halfway there, so
yeah, exactly. Okay, very good. Let's start in on the second episode here. It starts off with Luke Cage standing and looking at that building where we know that the councilwoman works out of.
Yeah, which
Crispus
has the
Attucks
big
building, right?
Yeah, it's got the big banner for her project.
Yes.
Which, to the news and everyone else, as we discussed last episode, it looks like the best thing in the world. It's continuing to make Harlem the crown jewel of the black experience and culture. But we also know that she's basically using like crooked mob tactics, enforcers to get donations for this project.
Yes, absolutely. Along with probably additional funds that she's now getting kicked back from her dealings with her cousin,
which is confirmed
Cottonmouth.
This episode.
Yes, exactly. So that was pretty cool. But Luke Cage is standing there looking at it. A guy puts a gun to his head from behind, calls him the N-word, and Luke Cage definitely took exception to that.
Yes. So it's kind of interesting to see the dialogue around racism and different things in the show. They kind of handle it well because it's something with so much of media where it's in rap songs, it's in this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Yet both the councilwoman and him have taken exception to it and said like, I don't appreciate you throwing that word around lightly.
They address it head on too. I mean, they even mention things about Black Lives Matter and things like that. So I mean, it's definitely keeping it very relevant to the time too.
Absolutely.
But so anyway, that's where it cues the intro up again, and then we come back in with Misty Night at the crime scene.
And I will say, for probably the first 3/4 of the episode, I was like, wait, what happened with that first scene? And eventually you get it at the very end, but it is kind of this awkward, like, wait, what was that setting up?
Yeah, all it is, I guess, is a short scene that bookends the episode. But yeah, until the end, I totally forgot about it. Halfway through, Mathis goes, wait, so what happened with that first scene? I was like, oh yeah, there's zero closure on that.
I kind of feel it should just have been the scene at the end.
Yeah, exactly. It really didn't have enough bearing on the episode to really warrant it leading the episode out. Mainly because it actually is confusing and seems like a non sequitur with the rest of the episode.
Yeah, whereas it actually has some impact towards the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have Misty Night, kind of a cool little, I don't know what you want to call it, like visual language or whatever, but she's at the crime scene. So you're actually re-seeing the crime scene where the gun deal goes bad.
Yes.
And Dante and Chico, and I can't remember the other kid's name, kind of get in the shootout. And it's just her very calmly turning around, almost as if she's in a VR environment.
Yeah.
And it's obviously supposed to convey her piecing together what happened with the evidence. And sure enough, it cuts back out. She's actually just in the investigative room.
And was reimagining it.
Looking at the typical cork board of all the usual suspects, and then her partner is just giving her a hard time. Like,
they're not going to start moving again. And she's like, you'd be able to hear them if... Oh, wait, why does she sound like that?
She's one of the possessed from Outcast.
She's not... he doesn't really buy into her tactic of just sitting there staring at it, but she's saying, like, if you listen hard enough, you can they'll talk to you. Like, these images will jump out at you. You can kind of get where they're coming from with that. But, so then it cuts to Pops after this, and... they're kind of giving you a little bit of extra background information. And for example, this is where we find out that the councilwoman and Cottonmouth are cousins. That's where Pops tells us that. And then at that moment, Cottonmouth actually ends up coming in with Shades, and then his other guy, whose name I'm not remembering, the main henchman.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think it matters, especially since this is the last episode that we'll really ever have to talk about him.
Yes.
But so they come in because Cottonmouth wants to get a shave with the straight razor.
Yes, and this there's not a lot of books or stories I remember from school. Like, I always have loved reading. Yet I didn't like English class because I didn't like being told what to read, right? I wanted to read my comics or whatever. But there's one story that I actually remember very distinctly, and I can't tell you the name. I tried looking it up in the episode, but it's a story where it's like World War II setting, and I don't know if it's an actual Jewish barber or just someone that obviously doesn't agree with the Nazis. And I thought it was called Close Shave, but I couldn't find it. And a Nazi sits in his chair, and the whole thing is him struggling not to slice his throat.
Wow.
Like, it's the Nazi commander. He just does his job. The Nazi ends up getting a shave and leaving. But the whole time I was thinking of that. And there's even a part where you're not expecting Pop to do anything, but Luke Cage makes the implication and says, I can clean up this trash if you want me to. And he's like, no, we'll be good.
That won't be necessary. Yeah. And it's during that scene that Luke Cage is sitting there with the broom, and he's kind of like zoning out, just getting angry a little bit, and accidentally snaps the broom in half. And then Shades looks over at him and starts telling him about this kid he used to know, and basically, like, he's telling the story, and I think he's trying to... It intimates that, like, they recognize each other, but maybe Shades isn't coming right out with that information necessarily.
Yeah, because Shades mentions he just got back in town after 3 years.
At Seagate Prison.
Yeah, and for a minute you're thinking, like, he just came back to New York, but then he says it's Seagate, and you don't know if he recognizes Luke, and that's why he's saying all this, just to kind of stir the pot, or if it just happens to be confirmation more so for Luke that this is definitely the guy that he remembers these kind of whatever happened there.
For sure, yeah. And you know that he recognizes him because he actually, in the first episode, when Shades walks past in the kitchen where he's dishwashing, he says out loud, he goes, Shades.
Yeah, there's a 1,000-yard stare in that episode for sure.
Yeah, and I like here, what's his name? Cottonmouth says, you work here too, Luke? You got more jobs than a Jamaican. They all start laughing.
Yeah, just some, I guess, casual racism within a race.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. But then when they go to leave, Cottonmouth isn't gonna pay. Like, he just doesn't pay. It's not even mentioned. He just goes to walk out, and Luke's like, "Hey, you need to pay us $25."
Well, and oddly enough, they actually have a sign of who specifically doesn't have to pay, and like it was Muhammad Ali and a bunch of other like significant people.
Yeah.
But everyone else has to pay.
Yeah, exactly. He references that, and then Cottonmouth does pay. So
he does pay. Well, he actually has his henchman pay,
who throws the money.
So about as disrespectful as possible.
He's a dick. I hate him.
Total dick. Yeah.
I hope that he gets his comeuppance.
I was gonna say comeuppance, exactly.
Or his come downance.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Foreshadowing.
So at that point, we know the stakes are raised. They mentioned they're looking for Chico.
Yes.
So that's the third person who hasn't been killed, wasn't betrayed, and wasn't beaten to death by Cottonmouth. That's who they're looking for. And so the pieces are starting to move. Like Luke Cage has kind of been a bystander, just caught up in this, where now he is directly implicated.
Yeah, he's being pulled into it now, especially with the next scene, which is where Pop wants Luke to save Chico. Mm-hmm. And Luke really doesn't want to do it, but Pop kind of lays into him and lets loose a little bit of information in the meantime. We've heard about Reva before, which was Luke's ex-wife.
Or Pop's ex-wife.
No. I think it's Luke's ex-wife.
Oh, okay.
And we didn't know if it was daughter or
wife,
but so it was his ex-wife, which was Pop's daughter. So Pop's is actually Luke's father-in-law. Yeah. But he's like, I remember when you first got together with her, and I didn't know about you, but I learned about your powers and stuff, and you said, keep it quiet, and I'll owe you one. He said, I'm cashing in that favor. Yeah, and this is Chico.
They have the same photo. This is episode 1. It happens of Reva in the medicine cabinet that you also see in Jessica Jones.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because Jessica Jones opens it and kind of wonders who this person is.
Yes. You see that picture. That's right.
And she's almost like, is he cheating? And then she kind of realizes there's a history there, and it's something tragic. So.
Yeah. Because she did. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Oh, okay. The basketball scene.
Oh, man. So good.
Okay. I was really nervous. Have you ever seen Catwoman with Halle Berry?
No.
Oh, my God.
I know how terrible it is.
The worst scene in cinematic history. I cannot think of a worse one. Is Catwoman goes to play basketball, and she's like trying to show off her fancy skills, and there's a lot of like, oh shit, yeah, and she's like doing super unnecessary flips, traveling really badly, like not dribbling at all, just like doing flips and stuff, which like that's not how you play basketball. Like you have to dribble it's just super cheesy, and that's what I was afraid this was going to be. But she does challenge him to a game of horse,
so there's not any dribbling or anything.
Yeah, and her conditions are something to the effect of for everyone I make, you got to give me a little information about what you know about Chico, where he's at, and if you beat me in horse, then I'll give you a get out of jail free card. No violent crimes, of course, but
sure.
So they make the deal, and then she's starting to school him or whatever a little bit, and then she walks him over to the side of the corner. She's like, "See that there?" And there's an MK.
Mathis Coos.
Yeah, Mathis Coos. Sick in the paint.
Or as I said in first grade, Mortal Kombat.
Oh, nice. Cool, my God. What is that? Get over here.
Yeah. But, she mentions the kid's trying to play that he doesn't know anything. And it's like, yeah, these are Chico's initials. So that's how you first get introduced to the initial concept.
Sure.
But then, we see that she's quite sick in the paint. Or maybe hard in the paint. Maybe that's why you're confused. I'm not using the right term.
That's it. Hard in the paint, yes. From day one, if you'd used that, I would have known
just
what
immediately,
you were saying.
Sure. But yeah, she's, nothing but net a few times, right? That's a term too.
Oh my gosh,
right?
dude.
Swoosh. And then she gets her information, and then she points out the acronym. So.
Yeah, exactly. And while this is going on, there are other people looking for Chico as well. Namely, Luke Cage is walking around showing pictures of Chico to all sorts of different people. And during the scene, he sees Cottonmouth going into the councilwoman's office at the Crispus Attics building. And he's got a big old duffel bag, which we see is full of cash because it switches to Cottonmouth's point of view. He drops the duffel bag on her desk, full of cash, dumps it out. She's like, "What are you? That's not even close to being enough." He's like, "That's a bag full of cash,
fucking money."
Yeah, and she's like, "I need the whole thing. Like, I have to deposit this back immediately."
I funneled government funds to renovate your nightclub.
Yeah,
and you decided to then use that funds instead of paying me back to have some kind of gun deal to make more money, and now the money's missing. Like, you owe me. And so they have like a back and forth.
Yeah, because he's like, I don't take orders from you. You know, we're partners. And he's like, you handle this, I handle that. And it's like, well, she did handle her end of the deal. She got you your stuff, and you're not handling your deal, or you haven't handled it all the way yet. Like, this is a big loose thread. Like, you need to fucking handle it.
And she also kind of shamed Shades a little bit, asked if his guard dog needed some water.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was looking, kind of intense there. And then eventually they say something like family first.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're really leaning on that this episode so that you know that they are family, they're cousins, and that's really their connection.
Yeah, the theme of a lot of this episode is obviously continuing the murder mystery, right, that happened last episode.
Yes.
And those loose ends, but it's also a lot of backstory.
Yes, okay.
It's a lot of, like, let's define who some of these characters are and continue with that. So the Shade stuff at sea, you get a little more of that. We're about to, I think, get to the scene where Pops gives more about his background.
Yeah.
And then obviously you like, there's the official, they're definitely family, they're cousins, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's good that they're giving you more information on this. I like that they're letting all of the information loose at like a good pace in this show so far, because we've expressed our grievances with other shows that we watch sometimes where plot lines that just don't need to be dragged out are dragged out because they're like spoon feeding you tiny bits of information, or you have like all of the omniscience and then they're just like making you wait for other characters to learn this stuff over and over, which is just really frustrating to watch. Like, it doesn't add anything as the viewer when you have all the information and are just waiting for other characters on the show to catch up with you. So I like that they're not doing that here.
I do too. But at this rate, by episode 13, we'll know everyone's like, favorite color, favorite food. Like, we'll like, really know them.
Write out their family tree.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love the next scene with which you just very briefly see Chico sitting on a bed, and then the door flies open. His Luke Cage boots that bitch.
Yeah, kicks it open and just flies in. They have like a little like mild plume of smoke that's kind of appropriate, like the dust from the door. And he's basically here for Pop, he says, and he wants Chico to come back. And Chico pulls a gun on him, to which he's like, look, you're not a killer. I know you didn't kill these people. Like, I know you're not innocent, but you're innocent in that part of it. Yeah. And that ultimately you're just the one that has the money. He makes the comment that, look, I found you in 4 hours for free. What do you think's going to happen when Cottonmouth sends his goons to find you and they're being paid?
Associates. Yeah.
To which you brought up, I think they sent them last episode.
Yeah.
And I think it's been more than 4 hours.
Yeah, because he's intimating like that they would be able to do it way faster, but I mean, we know that they at least had like a 12-hour head start on him because it was the night before that Cottonmouth had told his henchmen to go find him.
Yeah, cool. Because did we get, when Dante was dying and made the call, did he say Chico's name? Like, they definitely knew it was him?
They definitely knew that it was Chico, yes.
Yeah. By the way, for those listening to the last episode, it wasn't the young black kid with the MILF mom that was the third person.
No, it wasn't.
And it wasn't a white person or a black person.
The young black kid with the MILF mom, by the way, we see is the one that Luke Cage shields at the end of the episode. I was totally wrong about that.
But I almost don't really remember Chico other than that he was in that barber scene. Because he didn't have
apparently he was the one cutting the hair.
Yeah, because he's the barber, but he's not really talking. It's all, it's all the, wisecracking guy that ends up killed.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, Chico doesn't want to go with him, so Luke goes back to tell Pop, and then you get this cool throwback scene of OG Pop way back in the day, he tells him the way he got his name. He's like, my name comes from the sound when I knock fools out.
Yeah, and it's got this like sweet retro look. They're all dressed like, late 80s, early 90s, maybe even really late 70s, but like kind of, you think of really early hip hop. Yeah. That's all they're dressed. And it's Pop. It's actually Cottonmouth as a young kid, and then Chico's father, Fredo.
And I told you I had a little bit of an issue with the age gap between young Cottonmouth and young Pop, because the age gap between them maybe looks like it's like 5-6 years at most. And we looked it up on IMDb, and the actor that plays Pops versus the actor that plays Remy Danton, Cottonmouth, is 25 years old.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't quite bother me, because like in my mind I was just like, well, I've seen, I brought up Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe is like in his 50s and doesn't look it, and then you also see people that look like death at like 42, so it's feasible.
But just looking at Pops
but Pops is obviously worse for his wear than Cottonmouth.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I just the age gap to me like was a little bigger than that, just slightly so to the point where I was like, man. But anyway, we also learned where Cottonmouth, what the genesis of his name was.
Yeah, he got all most of his teeth knocked out, so I imagine he looked like he had 2 fangs.
Yeah.
Because of so many teeth missing.
Basically.
You've seen his great smile early on as he got his close shave, so obviously he had some very good surgery done at this point.
Yeah.
But that's why he doesn't like Cottonmouth, because it was essentially I'm poking fun at you, making fun of you name because you look goofy as shit.
Yeah. It's
not like you're a coiled rattlesnake ready to bite.
Some predator.
Not anything cool.
Yeah.
Not like Black Mamba and Kobe Bryant, am I right?
Wow, dude. Yeah. Oh, fucking Phil Jackson over here.
That was the LA coach?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Good job.
There we go. There we go.
Gosh. Wow, that's really impressive.
If you guys could see Foxman's face right now, he's so proud.
Beaming with fucking pride. But yeah, so that's where we got that information. The third buddy in that throwback was Fredo, which is Chico's dad, and we find out that Pop took the rap on some charges, came out, turned his life around.
He got 10 years, and he had a wife or significant other that was pregnant. And he never saw either of them again. Yeah,
well, I think he said that his son was 13 years old, if I remember correctly, when he went in, and he's never seen him since.
Oh, I thought he was saying he would be like a certain age now.
I mean, I could be wrong,
Maybe.
but I heard him say that his son was 13 when he went in. He's never seen him since, and it's his nightmare that his son could come in, be getting a shave and a haircut, sitting right in Pop's seat, and he wouldn't even know it was him.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. Why Luke brings up Chico's dad when he's at the motel trying to convince him to go back to Pop.
Yeah,
you don't really get the gravity of it, but it's like Pop, your Pop helped your father out. It's the reason you're around. This that, and the other. So there's a little
Fredo was like a meth head or something like that, or heroin. They said something like that.
Fredo went from selling crack to smoking crack.
Smoking crack, yes, sure. But after this part, that Chico actually ends up walking in the back door. Pop hugs him. They're both crying a little bit.
And he shoves him against the wall.
Yeah, and then a guy walks into the shop and sees Chico, and it's actually Turk, who's from Daredevil. He's one of the base level criminals, and he's not like one of the really evil mastermind ones. In fact, Daredevil and he, it seems like maybe have a little bit of an understanding where Daredevil doesn't really bust him up or anything like that, but kind of uses him as like a low-level informant. Yeah.
And I mean, he was in that last episode. He's the one playing chess the whole time at the front. So him and the other dude played chess together in the front of the shop. And you saw him earlier in the episode, but he's never had any real talking lines other than talking to this old dude playing chess.
That was him?
Yeah.
At the front?
Yeah, well, there's the one dude that's older with the golfer cap and the goatee, but he's been playing chess with Turk.
Wow.
Right?
Huh.
But I don't think they've noticed because they haven't drawn any attention.
Is the other guy that's playing chess up there, did you watch the Get Done? You watch a couple episodes?
I only got through the first one at this point.
Okay, gotcha.
That was the entire movie.
Yeah, I've seen them all. I think that he's actually the father of... And I think that I could be wrong, but I want to say that he owns a salon in that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I see him, and he does actually remind me of Spike Lee a little bit.
Yeah,
the way he dresses and the glasses and everything.
I also think that he's Bubs from The Wire, which you haven't seen The Wire.
I've not seen The Wire.
Yeah, I think Bubs is like this really charismatic heroin addict.
Yeah.
And I think that that's him.
But the reason he comes to the forefront is the moment that Chico's in the back, Turk gets up just to ask to use the restroom. I think the implication isn't that he just came to the barbershop to use the restroom, it's that he's been at the front, like he was last episode playing and just needed to use it, in which case he sees Chico, kind of he's an informant already to an extent.
Yeah, to Cottonmouth's guy.
Yeah, which you don't really know until later, but just from Daredevil he's an informant, so he's obviously loose-lipped.
Tone is the name of the henchman, by the way, of Cottonmouth. I have to remember when he throws him over, and then he turns to the other guy, and he's like, you want your money? See Tone, he's out front.
Yeah.
When he's smashed on the car.
You might say that earlier in the episode we were a little bit tone deaf. Anyway, so he tells Turk to get out of there, doesn't let him use the restroom, closes the door. So he's super obvious about everything. And so from there you're thinking, man, how's shit gonna unravel? And then very shortly after, it's 5-0. So Misty Knight and her partner walk in.
They actually, before they even walk in,
they run into Turk on the street.
They see Turk outside, and she basically is like, I know about you, your rap sheet and stuff like that. How you doing, Turk? And then she's like, if I see you on this side of town again, by the way, like you're gonna regret it. So like you need to get back up to Midtown.
Yeah, your record has so many hits, it could have a record.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Your record's got so many. Yeah,
Yeah.
It could have a hit record or
Something like that.
Yeah.
A play on his rap sheet and the music industry.
yeah. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was super cool. So
It
she
belonged in the Get Down.
Yeah. So she kicks him back up to Uptown or wherever. She goes inside.
Yeah.
Asking Pops if he's heard about the shootout that happened, which I don't think it was. Not that any of it matters how everything plays out. Probably wasn't the best thing to say. No, I haven't heard of that.
And then the other detective's like, I'm seeing pictures of all of them right up here.
Yeah,
and like the last place they were seen was here.
Yeah, the guy goes into your shop and dies, and the other one's your employee that showed up for 2 days.
Yeah.
And you haven't looked into it at all. Yeah. Officer brought nothing to see here. Yeah. Move along.
This is actually the scene, too, where you find out that, I guess, Misty Knight isn't her Christian name. I guess it's Mercedes Knight.
Yeah.
Vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
No, cool.
Anyway, so Misty...
Luke walks in and makes the joke about, he's like, I guess you found some better clothes to audit in.
Well, yeah, so that's what we're getting, right? She comes in, starts asking questions.
Yeah.
Eventually, I think Luke realizes that Pops is doing a terrible job of covering his ass and says, I can't remember the line, but do you think it was this? Kind of puts a theory out there, right?
Yeah.
And then Pops is like, I usually come in the last 2 days, but his rent for his chair, because you pay for a booth in these places, is coming up. So maybe he just doesn't have the money, or maybe I'll see him in a few days. But then Misty Knight, recognizes him and asks him who he is, like as if they've never met. And that's when he makes the joke, like, about the wardrobe and everything. And there's obviously a history there. She smirks. She leaves. And then there's a pretty funny line when Pops obviously knows what happened and looks at him and goes, really? Because Misty knows Pops. Like, they go way back for whatever reason, too, which I don't think they really explain, other than just similar neighborhood.
Yeah, I think that's what it seems like.
She played up in this neighborhood playing basketball. Like, she was just one of the kids. Yeah. Right? And now she's a detective. They even make a reference about, because of the basketball reference, I think saying her father is mad that she went to law school instead of playing basketball for another college.
Purdue or something like that. Yeah, exactly.
But then Luke says, instead of saying like, they banged, he's like, oh yeah, we got coffee. He's like, oh, is that what we're calling it?
Yeah.
Which made me awkward because I think earlier we mentioned that we had coffee.
Oh no, we had so
much coffee together.
Oh, no.
And then I posted a picture of our microphones tips touching.
Oh no. This is
National Podcast Day, everybody.
Yeah.
What happens on Podcast Day gets broadcast to the world.
Yeah, let's get weird. Yeah. Okay, so then the next scene after that is Luke walking back into the club, the Harlem Club, and the manager's like, hey, I got your money, Luke. The one that you've been bugging me about.
Annoyed me so much.
Yeah, and he just keeps walking. It's like, dude, you were behind on your rent. Turn around and get that money and give it to your landlord, you fucking slacker.
Now, to be fair, the landlord now feels indebted to him because, he saved them from the
well, then take the money from the manager and go give it to a fucking homeless man
person, right? Yeah, so he's been hounding this guy, and the guy's been busting his balls saying, like, hey, I pay you under the table. You'll get paid when you get paid. And now the dude's like, he doesn't even acknowledge him. He's just rude and walks by.
He's just rude.
And they're obviously trying to imply that he's a man on his mission. He's got important work to do. Because the conversation preceding this is Pop says, you need to go talk to Cottonmouth.
Yes.
I can't do it because the police are going to be watching me. And some conversations you don't have over the phone.
Yeah, exactly. But then it turns out that Cottonmouth really doesn't care to hear from Luke. He just wants to talk to Pops.
Yeah.
So, but I mean... okay, so I don't want to skip ahead. Basically, what ends up happening is, Luke walks into the room and gets patted down, and Shades is in there. The councilwoman's there again, and he says that he's there on behalf of Pop. And
at this point, because I think from this conversation to the climax, it's all kind of one intermingled scene. Should we maybe go to Audible?
Basically all that happens in the rest of this is that he tells, I'm not in the rest of the episode, just the rest of the scene, is that he basically just says, hey, Pops wants to broker a deal. We know where Chico is. We got the money. We just want Chico to get safe passage out of New York. And at first Cottonmouth's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'll handle this the way that I want to. And then he's like, Pops asked me to remind you, about your shared history. He shows him the photo of Fredo, Pops, and Cottonmouth. And then he basically tells him, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll meet at Pop's same time tomorrow.
Get a haircut at the same time I did before.
Yes, exactly. But okay, now before we get to the next scene, this would actually be the perfect time, you're right, to throw to an audible ad before we start quickening the pace towards the end of the episode.
Yeah, because as all this conversation happens between Luke and Cottonmouth, and he kind of says he's here on behalf of Pops, he doesn't say the one kind of communication thing that's annoying that we've talked about is I would just been like, well, the cops are watching him. They're not watching me and I already work here.
Yeah.
That's why I came in, right? But he doesn't say that. But he eventually gets Cottonmouth to agree. But in the meantime, and I love movies are doing cooler things with this, like with text messaging and whatnot.
They use it a lot in House of Cards.
Yeah, so they do a really good job of it. Even, I don't know if you caught it, but it even auto-corrected. He started to type a word and it like changed it to the right word.
I missed
he misspelled
that. That's
it.
pretty cool.
So Tone is getting a text saying, I know where Chico is.
Yeah.
At the same time. So you're also wondering, well, they're going to meet, but the moment Luke leaves, they actually have the info that he's supposed to give him. So how's it going to unfold? But,
I was wondering if you got that text from Turk.
Well, now that it's played out, that's definitely where it happened.
Okay,
because
cool.
you see the next.
Oh, of course, yeah,
right.
You're right.
So at this point, we're going to move to an Audible ad, and I think it's a musical one.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Boob Tube Buddies is your favorite podcast. Listen to the lyrics, do exactly as we ask. First, allow me to introduce the guys from the greatest podcast, and we're on the rise. Yeah. Mathis in it for the money, Fox in it for the fame. Mathis got the voice, but Fox got the brains. As Dan's creative valid, it's Nathan's secret shame. Dan's pretty awesome, but Nathan thinks he's lame. So grab out your wallets, turn them upside down. Make Mathis smile and burn off the frown. The cool little guys, not stinky fuddy-duddies. That's audibletry.com / Boob Tube Buddies.
All right, we are back. Hopefully you enjoyed the Audible song that Adam created.
Sure.
All right, it's a nice little ditty.
Hey, thanks very much, man.
Yeah, it's fun. I think we've used it once before in a podcast, but it's too good just to be one and done with. So we had to keep it going. But at this point in the show, we are going to get to our game. So Adam had the game last time. I have the game this time.
Yes.
And the game, I wish I kind of created a funny title, but I didn't. So it's just called Sex Toy or Marvel Character.
Clever.
Right? So I am going to give you 2 names, and you have to tell me which one is the Marvel character and which one is the sex toy.
Okay, you got it.
Right? And depending on which ones you get right, then that will be your punishment.
Oof. Okay.
All right. So the first one is the eel and Black Magic.
Black Magic is the Marvel character, and the eel is the sex toy.
Nope.
Damn
the
it.
eel is the Marvel character. And Black Magic is a 7-inch vibrator.
Damn it.
And I was looking through, I'm like, wow, some of these really could be sex toys, and then some of these could absolutely be superheroes. So we'll do 4 of these because it's kind of rapid fire, and then
Sure,
you'll do your
okay.
question. All right, so the next one is the hitch and the in-betweener.
All right, I'm going to say Hitch is the sex toy, and In-Betweener is the Marvel character.
That is correct.
All
You got that one
right,
correct.
nice.
Yeah, the hitch is a butt plug that looks like a trailer hitch.
Okay,
Right?
very cool.
And the in-betweener, I literally typed in obscure Marvel characters,
Yeah.
and just read through a list of primarily people I've never heard of, and they have some pretty interesting names.
Hey, and we have a merchant account with Amazon where we can throw out links.
Yeah.
So we'll link to all these sex toys,
Yeah,
so
why
you
not?
can get them, and we actually get a small kickback on that.
We probably won't do that.
That's not happening.
Okay. Here's a good one: the Conquest or King Cobra.
All right, I'm gonna say King Cobra is a Marvel hero, and the Conquest is a sex toy.
That's actually right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that one I was very uncertain.
Yeah, that
of.
would Conquest is a clit stimulator. All
Okay,
right.
cool, nice.
Alrighty, and that's actually kind of getting to the punishment.
Oh,
anyway,
God.
so here we go: Vibraxis and Lickety Split.
All right, I'm going Lickety Split as the Marvel character and Vibraxis is the sex toy.
No.
Really?
Right? There's a
good one.
There's a viral villain called Vibraxis, and there is a oral stimulator called Lickety Split.
Wow, that's a good one. Okay, good.
All right.
Oh, fuck. What is it? Just get it over with. Tell me what my punishment is so we can put this behind us.
Okay. And then the last one is Dominus or Hammerhead.
Okay, Hammerhead, I'm going with Marvel character, and Dominus, I'm going with sex toy.
Wrong.
Oh, fuck. I was doing so good there.
Oddly enough, though, Hammerhead is a villain in the DC universe, but here it happens to be a vibrating stroker, whatever the hell that is, and Dominus is the...
I feel like that was really tricky since there was a Hammerhead, but I was just guessing anyway, so I can't really get too pissy about it.
Okay, so... So weird. So your punishment, because you got more wrong than right, is you have to pretend to be a sex toy pleasuring a superhero.
Okay, so I just make the sounds?
Well, I mean, you got to do both parts of it.
Oh, okay. So I'm... Oh, fuck, this is weird.
Pretty weird, right?
Okay.
I'm Batman. This is my fleshlight. Oh my god, fleshlight, you feel so good.
I don't know what else to do. It's so weird looking you in the eye while I'm doing it, and immediate sweat. Like I'm just drenched.
Oh, these punishments are so much worse in front of someone.
I can't even
like
look
you don't
at you.
you don't get to lose yourself at all.
Can we put like a curtain in front of, like in between us? This is so awkward. I'm so sweaty
God,
now.
it's so awkward.
Ooh.
All right, you made a valiant effort.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Can we just get back to the episode and put this as far behind us as possible?
Okay, all right. So moving on to the episode.
Yes, Shades and Cottonmouth.
You made me into a coughing fit of your amazing pitch perfect impersonation.
That's what it was.
All right, take us
good
off.
game though, by the way. That was well written. So Shades and Cottonmouth, Cottonmouth's guy, they drive to Pop's, and we decided his name's Tone. That's right. Okay, so but before they get there, Luke Cage walks in first, and he tells Pops what Cottonmouth said. And that Cottonmouth's going to come there tomorrow. But then at that moment, Shades and Tone get there and just start shooting up the place. Chico gets shot. Pops gets shot in the fucking neck. So
brutal.
sad. And Luke Cage throws himself on top of the kid that is there, which is actually the son of that... not the councilwoman, but like the lawyer lady.
The bodacious MILF.
Yeah, the bodacious MILF. Sure,
that hits on Luke and gives him a number.
Yes, but he pretends to be dead as they walk in, grab the bag of cash, and leave.
Yeah, so they grab the cash. You weren't thinking this, but I didn't really know what Luke was going to do because he feigns like he's hurt as he's going over the kid. And I don't know if he can tell how many people it is or not, but I was almost expecting him just to take them both out now. But he lets them grab the cash. They leave. The moment they're out the door, he yells Pops and goes to try to stop the bleeding, but it's too late, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, I am with you on that he should have done something. But yeah, maybe the situation, he couldn't see how many guys there were.
Yeah, he didn't know.
Or even if he could, the kid's not bulletproof.
Yeah,
so
he also doesn't know who was hit how badly.
Yeah.
So maybe he's hopefully just like, let the smoke clear, see if I can save him.
Don't like escalate the situation any further. Although past murder, there's really not much escalate. But there are still lives in the balance as far as he's concerned.
But after the kind of conversation they had earlier where he talks about Genghis Khanis and saving those people.
Yeah,
talks about
I
that's
felt
the
at
first
peace for the first time.
He's been at peace. They had the thing where Pops tells them men don't run, men stand. Our boys run, men stand.
Yeah.
So with that sentiment, you're thinking he's about to kind of get in that fight, but really the action piece in this episode is just this tragedy, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so I guess Pops basically is bleeding out, and Luke Cage cradles him, and the light passes from Pop's eyes, and he's dead.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, I thought Pops was shaping up to be a big part of this show.
Yeah, me too. This is like way too early to have a gut-wrenching death.
That was like, honestly...
Do a Game of Thrones and wait till the end of the season.
For only 2 episodes in, too. I mean, it was building up like a lot of emotional attachment to that character. And if it had happened towards the end of the season, I feel like it might have just hit a little bit harder. But I guess this is going to be the catalyst that needed to happen to make Luke Cage really step into his own.
Absolutely. So after this, we now see Tone and Shades get back to the clubhouse, right? The police are already there.
The only other thing that happens before that happens is that Misty Knight and the detectives come in.
So Misty, remember that Misty and the detective go there. They imply that Chico isn't dead, right?
They do, yeah.
So Chico got hit twice, but he looks like he's alive at the moment, which means they didn't actually do what they needed to do. Yet they do confirm Pop's dead, which you all already saw. And Misty's kind of questioning Luke because he has bullet holes in the back. He shielded him, but he's like, I told you I'm good. Don't give me paramedics. So now we cut to them at the club holding the backpack full of money that also has blood on it. And they go up to the roof.
Yeah.
And as they're on the roof, what's his name? Cottonmouth is not happy.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Because he realizes that, Tone says, hey, I took the initiative, man. I got an inside tip. I went, and then Shades is like, I told him to wait.
Yeah, and he's like, but I went all Django Candyland shit. Someone call Quentin.
Yeah, someone call Quentin Tarantino because I made a bloodbath. And he's like, I made an executive decision. And at that point, and the whole time, now that you realize that there is a history between Cottonmouth and Pops, you're like, how is he going to take that? At which point, he's like, look, whatever, man, you got what needed to be done.
We'll rebuild Pop's store.
We'll rebuild Pop's store.
Yeah.
I will give a donation anonymously because he's a friend of mine and everything will be right. Don't worry about it. And that's when Tone's like, and then Shade just says, Pop's dead. And you can tell, Cottonmouth is not happy. And that's when Turk shows up.
Turk shows up, and he's like, I want my money. Ain't no door been able to hold back Turk yet.
Yeah, how did you get up here?
Money. Yeah, give me my money.
And the money, you would assume, is because he was the tip that told them where Chico was.
Absolutely, the text that came through.
Yeah, because otherwise, he wasn't related to them at all.
And then, so Cottonmouth turns and just throws Tone off the roof. Great shot, by the way, of him plummeting down. And then...
alarm going off.
Yeah. And then he's like, you want your money? You go get it from Tone. He's out front.
Yeah, he's downstairs. Yeah. Pretty intense. And Turk's like, y'all are fucking crazy. I'm going to go back to Hell's Kitchen where they're sane.
Yeah.
And Hell's Kitchen, of course, is like the Daredevil criminals we've dealt with.
Yeah,
This is Harlem. And then he asks his cousin, Maria, are you okay with this? She's like, extortion? Murder? No, I'm not okay with it.
Actually, she was okay with extortion. She says extortion, and she just kind of does a little shoulder shrug thing. She's like, murder, I'm not okay with.
But whatever, I got the money.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, maybe, you know what, maybe we shouldn't be seen together. Why don't you go, get your way out of the side door, and basically now you're getting the separation. She's understanding their worlds, while they might connect to each other, they are not in the same world.
She just saw him throw someone off a roof.
Exactly.
And knows that there's other murders leading up to this.
Definitely.
So now that's pretty much it. But now we get back to that first scene finally that didn't make sense initially. And Luke Cage is staring at the building. As he's staring at the building, you see Maria pull up. She gets out of the car and has Chico's backpack with the money in it.
Yeah.
So now Luke
connected.
Definitely knows she's crooked.
Absolutely. And there's a couple other little scenes that are spliced in here in the same scene, little cuts. So for example, before this, Luke is at his house looking through some memories of Pop, different things, photos and stuff. Cottonmouth is actually crying at the club with the old picture of Fredo.
They do actually kind of humanize him a little more.
They do, yeah.
Episode.
I mean, he's not just all bad, but then then it gets back to the scene where the kid has the gun against his head, and Luke starts telling the kid about Crispus Attucks and about Pop, and he's like, you know what, pull the trigger, and then the kid won't do it, so he takes the gun, puts it to his stomach,
shoots it, the bullet flies off, the kid goes running.
Yeah.
So it gives him a history lesson about how important Crispus is to Black history, and about not using that word. I do wish he would have just put his hand on the kid's hand and pulled the trigger into his forehead. I think that would have been a little more effective than take it, shoot my stomach. But I think even though he's bulletproof, it probably would have given him a headache. And he's already had a rough day.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
All right. Other than that, I think there's a scene where Misty and her partner are drinking outside of their cop car.
Yeah,
so they're going to drink and drive, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But she's like...
Further talking about the bullet hole thing.
His bullet holes, he had to get hit.
Yeah. So she obviously is... not onto him, but at the very least questioning.
Yeah, and her partner's like, you're drunk. And she's like, not yet.
Yeah.
Keeps drinking.
So that was pretty much it. It was a really good episode.
Great.
You liked it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So again, we're live tweeting the whole thing. If you're catching this up on day one, Friday, as this is releasing, make sure you tweet us with any questions. And as always, hit us up on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Reddit, all that good stuff too. And then you can just email us at boobtubebuddies@gmail.com if you want to. Mathis, you want to put a bow on this bitch?
Absolutely. We will see you in another hour and a half, little buddies.